I was 23, 24 years old when I bought my first place, and I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
So when I did that, I was like, oh, I'm just normal because I've got a lot of people surrounding me who've also done a similar thing.
Yeah.
And it's only when I started to look back, I was like, hold on a second, that's mad young.
What's really good though is to go yezziyezzir, and listen, this is a special segment because I'm sitting down with experts, and today we've got someone here to tell us everything we need to know and just having an informal but real conversation about property and the climate we're in today. I'll let him introduce himself. So for the people at home that don't know who you are, could you please let them know?
My name is Topsy Taiwo. You know what? I always feel difficult trying to describe exactly what I do because I do quite a few things.
Yeah.
But I'm going to run with property
guy,
property expert that helps first-time buyers and investors and homeowners with any of their property needs. So I've got a platform that I've set up which does that, which is called Property Purchaser.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that one.
I also make a bit of content online. And I also do a bit of work as well on the side too, as in like a 9 to 5 sort of thing. But yeah, main thing is definitely property for sure, helping people get on the ladder.
Perfect. And I just feel like having images of people that look like yourself and a lot of people that would be able to resonate with you, like that guy looks like me and he's doing something that you don't really see, you know, convention wise, in the sense of nothing really entertainment based with music or anything like that. It's like you're in property. So I want to start from the genesis.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm taking it all the way back. And we were talking about off camera earlier about we've got some common stomping grounds. So property, you woke up one day and you just decided you wanted to get into it?
So let me think. So I think my first exposure to property was with my parents. So my dad started buying a few properties, I would say about 20 years ago. Okay. So that was like my first exposure to that world. And then after university, I was always going to go into banking or professional services, but I was just not smart enough to pass those silly online assessment tests. And I used to fail them all the time. So I basically went on a website called milkround.com. And I basically applied to every single job on there just before I was about to finish my end of year exams. And then just before I took my exams, the first job offer that came back was a company called Foxtons.
Foxtons, I've heard of that.
And I was like, I don't know what this company does. I know they're property related. I went down there for the interview on my birthday as well, I remember at the time.
Dedicated.
And then essentially just heard back a week later and got a job offer. And that was, and the rest is history. I ended up being a Foxtons estate agent for about 6 years.
Wow, okay. And that's what I was talking about off camera, that I had my time at Foxtons as well. And when we talk about estate agency, we're talking about you're really with the sharks.
Yes.
But I think it's a perfect place to start. If you were going to go down that route property-wise, they don't play. They don't mess around. They throw you in there and you either sink or swim, which is good for the field you're in.
It's not for the faint-hearted, that's what I would say.
That's one way of putting it. Definitely not for the faint-hearted on that one. So it's like, okay, you start off at one of the biggest estate agencies in the country.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you decide, I don't want to show houses anymore?
Yeah, so I was there for 6 years, and I'm a big person on always learning, and I felt after 6 years I'd sort of reached my learning curve, and I wasn't really waking up every morning excited to go to work, and that was a problem for me because I need to do that in order to perform at my highest level. So I just remember one day I woke up and it was like 6 a.m. in the morning. I had a really early morning appointment. I just looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I remember going to work that day, not really trying in the appointments that I had, and I think I decided a week later to hand in my notice.
Okay.
I don't regret doing it like that, and I really enjoyed my time there, but I wanted to get into other parts of the industry. And I also realised I was quite entrepreneurial. I'd always started my own platforms from when I was a young person. I just said to myself, I want to do something my own within this industry. So in order for me to do that, I felt like I had to explore other parts of the industry first, and then eventually go and set up my platform, Property Purchaser, which is what eventually happened. And
you know what's so funny? I was looking up on the things that you're doing, and you do a lot.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
He's very humble, but he does a lot. Check his receipts, okay? He's got one of the biggest link trees I've ever clicked on in my life.
Oh,
like,
my days.
You do a lot.
You saw the link tree.
I saw the link tree. I went for link tree. And I just thought, estate agents, or when you're in that kind of heavily commission-based industries, you're all about the money. You're literally show me the money.
Yeah.
In that sense, because the times we're in, people love the lifestyle. So I'm thinking, you're good at what you do. You're probably making money in what you do. Why would you decide to now give back to the community?
Yeah.
With property purchaser.
Yeah, it's a good point. Don't get me wrong. I feel like having your income pattern is still very important. And I've made sure that whatever I do, there's got to be a return on that investment of time, 100%. But what you said in relation to giving back to the community and providing knowledge is that I feel you're always going to get something good or more in return when you're offering value to people. And I just felt I wasn't doing enough of that through estate agency. And I just felt that I like making content. I like being on camera. I like providing advice. And people have always said I'm a good communicator. And I felt I wasn't being given the opportunity to do that enough with an estate agency. So I just said to myself, I have to set up my own platform. And ever since doing that, I haven't looked back. Because it's so fulfilling now when you hear someone say, oh, I've been going through your videos, I've been looking through your tweets, and now I've been able to buy my first house. If it wasn't for your platform, I don't think I would have been able to do it so soon. I'm like, that for me is more fulfilling than selling some rich person's £2 million house for a 20 grand fee. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like the money was good in that, but I feel in the long term, I could probably make similar, if not more money doing this and have more fulfillment along the way as well. So that's one big reason why I feel like I do it. And why I set up that platform.
Because I'm the same way. It's like, okay, it's somewhat easy to make money by doing anything that just makes you money. But for something that you want to enjoy, and sometimes you do it without clocking the hours. When you really enjoy it, I can go all night on something that I enjoy doing.
Facts.
And then without knowing it, you get a lot more back because it's your own self-development. So, okay, you start property purchaser, you start your own platform.
Yes.
You start giving back, and then it's kind of like, okay, do you know this is what you want to do? Or are you still kind of, in a sense, just following how you feel right now? Yeah. Or winging it, some people may say.
You know what? I think everyone is on the spectrum of winging it. I think even if you spoke to someone who is apparently established within their career, I guarantee you they wake up sometimes and think, no, I'm kind of winging this. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone's on that spectrum. And for me, I used to be so regimented and so rigid about, by this date, by this age, I have to have accomplished this, and I need to say I'm this. But I just feel, especially in today's day and age, you can't pigeonhole yourself into one area. And I think you just have to accept the uncertainty of life. And that's what I'm starting to get a bit more comfortable with my personal journey. So where I'm currently at the moment is that I'm doing my platform, I'm presenting, doing content online, and I also have my other income from the contracts and tech jobs that I do. So on the face of it, it looks kind of muddled, but actually, I'm just getting more comfortable with that. And whatever the next 10 years brings, I'm not sure, but I know at least what I'm doing now is what I want to do currently. But I'm accepting that your journey can change and evolve over time. So whereas before, I was like, nah, by age of this, I've got to have this job, have this family, have this house, and this career. And don't get me wrong, I think it's important to have goals, but it's more important to have flexible goals and not to be too regimented. That's how I'm seeing life right now.
I was literally just like, oof, I felt you on that one because I'm notorious for diaries, stationery. I've got diaries upon diaries with plans. Where were you at in your life? What point were you at that was the turning point of, I'm not doing this whole targeted thing anymore?
I would say maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, pretty much after I left estate agency and after I left Foxtons, because that life was so set out for me where I was like, after 6 years I'm going to be a manager, after 2 years I'm going to be a director, after this I'm going to be an area director, and it was a very straightforward life. Whereas now I've just accepted that actually not too sure. I don't think that's the way to operate and that's the way to live. I think it's really important to move with purpose. I think it's also really important to be self-aware and follow what you're naturally good at. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing now, because I'm a good communicator. I like presenting. I like making content. Don't get me wrong. There's a few like bucket list items that I've written down on my phone, on my notes.
Are they secret?
They're not really secrets, to be honest with you. Like one big thing on there is to definitely have a show on TV or a big platform within the property space. That's one big goal that I have. Whether that happens in the next 2 years or the next 10 years, I'm not too bothered. Another big goal of mine from a more personal standpoint is, I want a family. Okay, I like a couple of kids. I like a big house in Hertfordshire. That's another big goal that I've got as well. And I'd also say number one for me is just fulfillment and happiness. So there's a few things on there, some personal, some that I'm happy to share. But most important for me is that I'm able to just wake up every day and enjoy what I'm doing. Okay. And whether that's 1 or 5 things, I don't really mind. But what I'm currently doing now is the main focus.
Oh, that's perfect. Because then you were saying, okay, you want to have a show on TV, but I'm thinking, Topsy, you're not that far away from that. Because when I was on your Linktree preying, I saw that you've done stuff for BBC, Channel 4, the list goes on and on, Lad Bible.
Yeah.
So then how did those situations come about? You're doing your own thing and then I'm assuming you get an email or a DM from the BBC. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, you know what? So I was basically just tweeting about helping first-time buyers, and then that's the first time I think the BBC picked up on it. And anyone who wants a tip on how to maybe get noticed by media outlets, just tweet and hashtag your niche. And I was doing that for about 3 or 4 months, and then eventually they were running a story about Help to Buy. And I think the journalists are on Twitter looking for experts and people who can shed a light on that particular topic. And that's how they found my tweet. Then from there, they discovered a bit more about what I was doing. And they simply just sent me a DM and said, hey, we've got a segment on Help to Buy in about 2 hours on BBC Radio 1. Are you free to do it? I was like, what, in 2 hours? Yeah, like, I guess I'm free then. And then 2 hours later, I was on BBC One Extra. And then from then onwards, you're just on their list. Okay. So whenever they have a topic surrounding property, they'll just call you. And it's usually within like half an hour or 1 hour's notice. So that's how I start to build up my appearances on the BBC and start to make connections through that. And that's why I'm building towards hopefully getting a show with the BBC to try and pitch it towards them and hopefully get it on TV.
That's really good. Listen, everyone that's been listening at home, fingers crossed, because so Topsy can get his show. But that's really good in that sense because you have to be ready for opportunities. Yep. And we've spoken about it on Hey Sis before, making yourself available and also being prepared for your opportunities.
Facts.
Because a lot of people kind of say, oh, I want X, Y, and Z, but they haven't invested in themselves. They haven't educated themselves.
Yeah.
So how can you want something that you're not ready for? Which 100%. Is kind of crazy when you think of it in that way. And I just want to talk about someone like yourself. You're doing a lot of things and one of your goals is having a family.
Yes.
So how do you balance your personal life and all the things you're doing? You laughed. I already know that the balance is off. I know what it's like. So I'm like, what's going on?
I don't have the answer to that question at all. Like, I look at my parents and I remember they used to work so hard and I don't think they got the balance perfect, but they just did the best that they could with the situation at hand. So my thing is that I'm just going to run with what I've got at the time. Yeah. But it's important to try and allocate time where it's necessary. I think it sounds blunt, but I think the most important thing is you. Like, you have to focus, I'm not trying to move like Will and Jada. Like
you said it.
I didn't mean like that because that relationship is a bit messy right now.
Yeah.
But I do think like you shouldn't sacrifice too much just to keep on pleasing other people. Focus on yourself, but also once you feel like the balance is a little bit off, obviously try and dedicate time. But for me, primary priority is definitely yourself. That's what I think, because ultimately that's who's going to make you happy, I think.
You know what? I really get you on that whole sacrificing yourself, and I feel that it's different for everybody. You know, the whole thing, what you consider to be a sacrifice might not be for someone else.
Sorry, I'm completely blame on that. Apologies.
Oh, that's fine. You know, hay fever gets at us. This is Hey Sis, so we're very relaxed on the show. I'm a sufferer of hay fever as well.
Hay fever's killing me. It's killing my people.
I love that. It really is. We need to find a solution. I heard there's an injection for it though.
There is, you know. It's like a steroid injection or something crazy like that. I think it does something to your glands or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to stick with the tablets for now. I don't want to mess up my immune system right now. Not yet. Not yet.
I love that. And, you know, in the sacrifice side of things, I just feel like people's definition of sacrifice is different. You know? But for me, a major sacrifice for me, and if I do give that to you, it's my time. Because everything I do right now is time consuming. Yeah. And I don't think people understand just how important time is. Yep. Especially for people that are doing things that aren't necessarily a 9 to 5. You can't account for these things by the hour all the time. Facts. And sometimes we can neglect ourselves as well. Yeah. In regards to that balance aspect of it. Because you want your personal goals, but you also have your career goals. But then you find yourself, you're so consumed by your career that you're like, oh, friends, relationships, those things. Oh my goodness. And then you know what's a heavy reminder on those things? What's that? Social media. Yep. Because you go in and you go, oh, they're married. Oh, that's kid number 2. Yep. And it's just scrolling through sometimes. You just think to yourself, okay, I'm failing in the friendship area. Oh, I'm failing in the fitness and health area. Oh, I'm failing. I was like,
how am I supposed to balance all of these plates at the same time? But you're absolutely right. Like, sometimes you just need a social media break just to focus on yourself a little bit.
It's focus on yourself a little bit. And I feel that now we worry about so much in the sense of, okay, I do need to balance all these things, but it's okay. Like you said, it's okay to not have that perfect balance.
Yeah. And
just segueing into what I actually DM'd you about in regards to millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah. It's a good. I like that segue.
Phew, I just went into it real quick.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of them at home, a lot of us at home, and we're looking around, especially on the purchasing a house side of things, and we're thinking it's a myth. It's looking like a fairy tale right now. And a lot of people don't even understand it, because the things that are out there, they aren't in layman terms. You can't understand it. If you haven't got the background or someone that's into it, you're probably thinking, I'm either with my parents or I'm renting for the rest of my life. And that's if you have good credit. Because I'll tell you, on the letting side of things, renting is not a walk in the park.
you need very good credit for renting as well, you know.
Very good credit. You need very good credit. Your salary has to be up to par. Even when in a previous life, when you have to break down the salary aspect of things, people are like, that's ridiculous. And then you're like, okay, you got the option of a guarantor. Okay, what does the guarantor need to have? You do the little calculation. How is anyone supposed to get something like that?
It's facts. I think especially in the sales side of thing as well, because I used to work in sales. Yeah. People don't realize that the average age of the first time buyer is like 33, maybe 34. Now it is in London. Yeah. So you sort of see a lot of people who are unfortunately stressed out that they don't own a home yet, or they're not happy that they're not on the ladder, or they're not even close to it, and they're still living at home, but they're 28 years old. It's like, I get it, because social media and soft life will make you think that everyone's buying a house at 25 years old and still being able to afford to go to Dubai 3 or 4 times a year. But number one, half of that is on credit. Number two, maybe they've had money from parents. And number three, maybe they've rarely been able to do all that by themselves. But it's a very small percentage of people who are that number three. So I think you just need to focus on yourself, understand that realistically, you can't compare yourself to anybody's journey, because everyone's journey is totally different. Yeah. And I think once you start to understand that, the stresses of not being on the property ladder at 25 will sometimes go away a little bit. So that's what I always try and focus on. Focus on your own journey. Don't compare yourself to anyone else, because everyone has got something going on that you have no idea about. So.
It's so true. And I feel like a lot of people that haven't got the background that we have, they come to me and I explain to them, renting, lettings, that was my expertise. Sales-wise, you need to find someone else. But a lot of people have this thing of, but what about Help to Buy? Yeah. And I've just opened up an ISA account. And what about shared ownership? And the thing is, a lot of people have this thing of, is it a scam? Are you technically just having 2 mortgages? And it's too good to be true. And what's this staircasing thing that everyone's talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
can you really trust it? That's the thing. And I know you got the property purchaser going on. You can't really.
No, I'll be totally like, the answer I usually give to that is none of these schemes are bad or good, in my opinion. I think you just have to look at it within the context of your personal situation. Shared ownership, for example, gets a lot of stick, because it's like, but I'm paying rent and I'm paying a mortgage, and I've heard all of these horror stories of people not being able to sell it, blah, blah, blah. But there's also loads of stories of people who've really benefited from shared ownership, really been able to get on the ladder when they wouldn't have been able to do so otherwise. Yeah. So it just depends on who you speak to. For me, whenever people ask me what scheme should I go for, what's good, what's bad, I just say to them, tell me your situation first, and I will recommend what the best one is for you, because all of them are good and all of them are bad, just depending on who you are. So even buying a property by yourself without any government help can end up in a horror story as well. So you just need to figure out which one's the best for you.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. I think because that word scheme has negative connotations, everyone's kind of like, the government doesn't want to really help me.
I get it.
What's in it for them, type of thing.
And when you hear stories of like people, let me say it, like government ministers watching so and so in Parliament.
Yeah, allegedly.
People like Matt Hancock lying every 5 minutes, Boris Johnson breaking rules. Like, there's a lot of distrust in the government, right? So I do get it sometimes. No,
I know. And these are the people that you're supposed to technically trust. They're supposed to be figureheads of like morality and things like that. And when they're doing the polar opposite, you're kind of like, maybe I should look elsewhere in these type of things. But that was really good in the sense of you saying everyone's watching everybody's journey. Yeah. And we don't even watch ourselves enough. And that's why we have situations where there's a spike in mental health.
Yep. I mean, even on the mental health aspect side of things, I would say that I've definitely suffered a little bit from it as well.
Yeah,
and I also think mental health is a little bit of a spectrum thing. The whole not being at the stage of life that you want to be at, whether it's property or finances, massively affects that too. But the way in which I've been able to deal with it, and the way in which I'd advise anyone to deal with that, is just accept that it's going to happen. Number one, life isn't fair. And then always just think about what you've got at the moment. And you know, when you hear these stories about people who say, oh, you have loads of money in the world and you're still not happy, and you sometimes think, oh, that's rubbish, like money will make me happy. Money will make me happy. But I do sometimes get it, actually, because no matter how much money you've got, or no matter how many properties you've got, I still think you do want some sense of fulfillment as well. And that's why I think it's really important to practice gratitude. I don't do it enough. I try to write down in my notes and my routine every single morning, like, show 5 minutes of gratitude. When I don't do it, that's no wonder when I become a little bit more, depressed. But when I do it, of course, I start to feel a bit more happy with what I've got.
I got to put my hands up to the gratitude one as well.
But I don't do it enough.
I don't do it enough either. I don't do it enough either. I just feel like, because there's so much going on and you're going a million miles per hour, and you're just thinking about what have I not done, as opposed to looking back and seeing how far you've come. It's so easy to be like, but look at what everyone else is doing. And the thing is, everybody has a ceiling for that different chapters in their life. And fulfillment has leaps and bounds. It's literally like a stream. It's not like, okay, when I get here, this fulfilled goal that I've got, my life is complete. Because if your lifespan is on average, I don't know, 80 years, you're going to go through a lot of chapters. So I can see the sense of just being grateful for every step of the way.
Facts. And I think I didn't do that enough, because I was 24 years old when I bought my first place, and I didn't think anything of it. So when I did that, I was like, oh, I'm just normal, because I've got a lot of people surrounding me who've also done a similar thing. And it's only when I started to look back, I was like, hold on a second, that's mad young. And I wish I'd made a bigger deal about it at the time. Because now, when
what's a bigger deal?
But I would have been on Twitter. I would have been writing letters to the BBC, ITV, saying, I've just bought my own house at the age of 23. I'm black, and I'm doing well with my life. Whereas nowadays, you see someone who's 23 and bought their own house, they're posting a set of keys, they're creating a home account, they're on Twitter, like, it's everywhere. But I just didn't really think it was a big deal at the time, because people surrounding me were all doing the same thing. And that just takes it back to comparing yourself to other people. Like, if you're proud of something you've achieved, whether it's buying a house, starting a podcast, starting a show, whatever it is, you need to make a big deal about it, because if you're not going to celebrate your wins, who else is?
I like that. So you're giving me a green light to toot my own horn.
100%.
Topsy said it, so I'm going to do that. Hey sis. No, but I love that. But you're talking about, you bought your first home at 23. Yeah, it's still a big deal now. And you also mentioned I had people around me that were doing the same thing, so it was the norm. Did you do that on purpose? Was that strategic? Or did you just so happen to have friends that were just making major moves at 23?
I feel like it was probably more the fact that people around me were doing a similar thing. Because in a estate agency, you're exposed to home ownership from, like, obviously day one. So I just felt that was something that you just had to do. It was normal. And I think that's a big thing with any environment that you're in. Like, whoever you were surrounded by is going to impact you whether you like it or not. So that's why I wanted to do it. And I remember when I completed, I was like, right, tick box exercise onto the next. Like, I didn't really think anything of it. It was just because everyone around me was doing a similar thing. So I feel like that's one big thing I always advise in property as well. I think people ask, oh, how do I get on the ladder? And you can give all the practical advice that you want to give. But one thing I'd really focus on actually is changing your environment. And I don't just mean who you talk to, I mean your social media environment as well.
Louder for the people in the back, Topsy. I don't think they heard you.
Like, your social media is your environment. Like, people are talking about, I'm not looking forward to living in the metaverse. It's like, we're in it now. Like, we literally are in the metaverse. How much time do you actually spend immersed in your screen? Like,
it's true.
Maybe half the day, like, if you actually deep it. So if you're spending that much time there and you want to get on the property ladder, like, clean out your timeline and just start following things that are gonna be a conduit towards you getting to that goal. So that's one thing I would say that doesn't get spoken about enough. Yes, you can learn all you want, but it's about following accounts that are just going to help you get closer towards your goal as well.
So it's a daily discipline.
Yeah.
Daily discipline.
100%.
Oh my gosh! So gone are the days where you're literally cleaning out your closet. You got to clean out your phone.
Yeah, and Twitter. I think things about Twitter is like it's a hilarious platform, and it's great for entertainment as well. But sometimes you realize you just follow like a lot of rubbish. Like same with Instagram as well. Maybe if you want to just create a separate account just for like the goal you want to achieve.
So
that could be an
righteousness
idea
and
as well.
ratchetness.
Yeah. For your ratchet account, you've got that timeline there. But for your like personal finance, property goals, just create another account maybe and just follow that one instead.
Okay then. Okay, so Topsy, you're doing a lot. Have you got any plans for the future? Like, what is in the immediate future? Or let's just condense it down to 2022. What have you got planned?
2022 so far for the rest of the year is just to continue making content at a more consistent rate. I really want to build my platform, Property Purchaser, to the biggest platform it can be, grow that audience as well, more brand partnerships with that platform, and from a personal standpoint, do more media appearances and hopefully get my show idea commissioned by a studio, which is what I'm trying to pitch at the moment. So I've got a couple of shows. One is a podcast, property related, and another one is like a modern take on location.
Ooh, and I love location.
So,
I like your reels as well. They're hilarious.
I'm
They're
gonna
absolutely hilarious. How do you remember the lines for your reels? That's crazy. Because I'm looking at them like, this is word for word.
Do you mean the like the voiceover ones?
The voiceover ones, like the reels and the TikToks. And I'm just watching in amazement. Like, it's the fact that you're remembering them and then you're doing the animated like faces and everything like that. But it's good.
You know what? That's one thing I definitely enjoy, like 100%. And I sometimes feel a little bit cringy doing it, but I've just stopped caring what other people think anyway.
Yes,
but yeah. One of my best friends is an actor as well.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of inspired by him when I watch him, and I'm like, let me try this acting thing a little bit within my own niche.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that, and I've been getting better at like learning the lines, but also trying to bring out the character itself as well. So I really enjoy learning the lines and trying to, trying to just explore it as much as I possibly can, but actually help people alongside making them laugh as well. So yeah, I'm going to carry on doing that. You're
doing it for me. There's one word that I just want us to touch on just before we give you your final takeaways, because I know you like the takeaways. There's a word you keep using, and it resonates with me a lot, and you keep saying niche. And I don't think a lot of people understand the importance of really knowing your niche, or knowing what a niche is, or just being able to figure out your niche. Yeah. So why is having a niche important to you?
I love that question so much, by the way. That's a great question. And I think having a niche is really important. And I've gone back and forth over this for a long time, but I've now landed on the idea that when you're first starting out in whatever you're trying to do, it's very important to pick something which is not too spread out. Like, pick a niche, whether it's property, personal finance, music. Just pick something that you can focus on. And that's important because people need to be able to identify what you are, whether it's someone who's going to let you through a door, a gatekeeper, or your audience who are watching you. Think about why you follow accounts and why you like people. It's because you get some form of value from them. Yeah. And if you see them doing loads of different things, you don't really remember them, but you want to go to an account and be like, oh, that's where I get my beauty and hair stuff from. That's who I go to for and if I've not knuckled down on property, I feel like I wouldn't have as much of an impact that I've had. Definitely. And the beauty of having a niche is when you've mastered it, eventually what I've seen is that you can then go on and do whatever you want. And one of my favorite examples of that is KSI.
Oh yeah.
He started out with gaming, and I know he's like a polarizing figure. I get that, but he's a great example for the niche thing, because he started out doing gaming on YouTube solely, and now he's got albums, movies. Like KSI can go and do whatever he wants now, because he mastered his niche, and his crowd now follow him to wherever he wants to go. So I think that's a really good blueprint to follow for your own career, whatever you're trying to do. Pick a niche. And then eventually, once you've mastered that, you've got your audience. They will then follow you, because no longer are they following your niche; they're following you. So that's the journey I'm taking. Property is something I love, and I know you can have lots of different passions, and I've got lots of different passions as well. Yeah. But I want to focus on this passion first, and then I can explore them afterwards once I've mastered this and I've built up an audience who are going to follow me elsewhere. So
brand awareness.
Brand awareness.
Yes, and cementing your brand. Okay, and just before we go, it's been one hell of a conversation, I gotta say, but we gotta give the people their final takeaway. So just based on the conversation we've had, what really resonated with me was the fact of establishing who you are. Because there's a lot going on, and there's different people even doing similar things to yourself, and you have to make sure that you identify what makes you special, what makes you stand out, and then not forgetting to establish your niche to be able to accomplish your goals. So that's my final takeaway. Figure out who the heck you are. Topsy, what's the final takeaway that you got for the people at home?
Mine is very, very similar to yours. I would just add to that being self-aware for me is probably the most important thing you can do in personal development. I feel like self-awareness is one of the best things you can do to make sure that you're performing at your highest level. I feel like once you're self-aware, that is the time and that's the place where you're going to be able to perform at your highest level. So for me, self-awareness is the most important thing.
That's it. So there's no excuses. And if you need to clean out your phone, do it. Because Topsy said it. And if you have to change your friendship groups, we're not trying to tell you cut people off, because you hear that a lot. There's a lot of memes going on. Cut off people.
Don't be that drastic.
Don't be that drastic. You can still have your friends, but you know that there's a change that's needed for you to make a change in your own life. But yeah, this is Hey Sis. Make sure you like, subscribe, share the video. You could be helping someone out. So if that was a sign, this episode is a sign for you to make a change.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. Thanks for watching. This is Hey Sis.